Well, what you just saw there in the beginning of this video was a flickering light bulb, which was from the multi-wave oscillator, Lakhovsky multi-wave oscillator. It's not actually, I don't think it's traveling through the air. It's actually going back through the wire. I think that's on the same circuit. And it's one of those kind of lamps where if you touch the lamp it goes on. It's got like, you know, it's got 4 settings, low, high, medium, and very high or something like that. But if I get close enough to that multi-wave oscillator in a certain position, somehow, well, let me just put it to you this way. If you have one of these multi-wave oscillators, you decide to get one, it does state to run it on a separate circuit other than sensitive electronic components. And, you know, from looking at that flickering light, I'd say that's a fact. Okay? Or else turn that, you know, unplug your electronic components from the wall before you run that. Now, I was doing a little more research on this thing, and because, well, first off, I want to put things in like plain, very valid, scientific, common sense type of way. The only Lakhovsky multi-wave oscillator that I would really trust to spend any kind of big bucks on, I got one that was cheaper. It was a portable one, and I think it's pretty good though. But anything that I was, and I don't think anybody makes this, I'd get one that was exactly like the original. Now, I know there's people that come out and they say their stuff is better than the original, and then there's stuff out there for $10,000, $11,000, $18,000, and it's like these tubes, and it's better. So it's a new generation of multi-wave oscillators. I don't know. The only reason I say to stick with the original is this, and you know, because I'm not anti-doctor. I only get a little mad at them when they say no herbs work, or, you know, it depends on who it is. But you know, some doctors are very, very much, it has to be only pharmaceutical. I think there's other things that work besides, you know, pharmacies, you know, medicines. I know pharmaceutical medicines work, but there's other things out there that work. And this is some new stuff I never heard of till really recently, even though it's been out since the 30s. But the only thing I would trust for the multi-wave oscillator, it would be something as close to the original as possible. And I don't know if anybody even makes one of those damn things. You'd have to make it yourself. And the reason I say the original one is because, this is where my respect for bona fide doctors comes in. It's because bona fide doctors in real hospitals used it on real patients, and they said it did some really outstanding work. You know, it worked on the patients very well. So I was trying to look up, you know, a little bit more as to, you know, how much application they used and stuff like that. And then I says, you know, it's kind of hard to tell because, you know, I see like, you know, the result was here and this was what happened, and, you know, this is what they had and there's the result. But I didn't really see nothing where they said, and I'm sure it exists someplace, you know, I just couldn't find it. But I found something where Lakhovsky used it on plants, and they injected plants with cancer, and he used this multi-wave oscillator to try to cure them. Now, one thing I always say with the plants and animals, if something works on plants and animals, you know, the plants and animals didn't like heal themselves by faith healing, right? That's an indication that there's something really going on with this damn thing, right? I mean, it's not snake oil, but you'd have to get the original one. That's where I'm like, you know, you want to be using the stuff they used originally, because I don't know, you know, all these other people that say Lakhovsky he was smart, but we got a better way. You know, they're always trying to sell you something, right? So I don't know if they're full of it or what. How would they know, you know? I mean, I really trust if doctors and hospitals said this thing was working and they evaluated for a couple of decades. I mean, it's, you know, between like France and a little bit in the USA and also quite a bit in Italy, it's been used for at least 20 years, at least. Not that it's been used in all the hospitals, but it's been used enough times in enough hospitals to say that, hey, this thing isn't snake oil, you know, it's something's legit going on here. And the way it's supposed to work is strengthen the body. And you know, if you really want to get down to the nitpicky nuts and bolts of what cures something, you know, actually medical science, like with pharmaceutical drugs, they don't really cure something. They basically, your body cures itself. And like these pharmaceutical meds basically hinder other things that are harming the body. That's more like how it works. Actually, the pharmaceutical meds don't really cure anything anyway. And you know, if you really get down to the exact definition of what a cure is, it actually, the only thing that cures the person is the body itself, right? And the theory behind this device is that it's supposed to strengthen the cells where they're weak, where they've been overpowered by disease or something going wrong or whatever the hell it is. And so thereby strengthening the body naturally does its thing and cures the problem, right? Well, I was looking at, you know, how long did they actually use this thing? You know, even, and I don't have a real one. That one I have is a portable one. And my opinion is that that portable one is probably the best value for the money, you know? So, that's my opinion, but I don't know. Because I've never seen any Lakhovsky device out there sold that's exactly like the original. Now, it's because they're probably, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. If I myself was selling multi-wave oscillators, I would try to make it as close to the original as possible if I was doing that. So I don't know why they deviate from the plan. So I don't know what the deal is. But just to give you an example as to you know, how long did they actually treat like plants? And that's a good example, because a plant can't say, you know, in their mind, I'm going to faith heal myself. You know what I mean? They took these plants and they gave them, like, they injected them with cancer. And some, they had, like, the test subjects didn't have the treatment. And the other plants had the multi-wave oscillator treatment. Well, what they did was, from what I've read now, is that they used it for 3 hours, 11 days in a row. 3 hours a day. 11 days in a row, and on the 16th day the plant started to throw off the tumor. But initially, the first few days, it was like the plant was the tumor didn't look like it was doing any. It was just as bad as all the other ones. Initially, it looked like it wasn't doing a damn thing, but it was like, so they treated the plants 11 days, 3 hours a day. Now, you're not really, I don't know, like that portable one I got only goes to a max of 30 minutes. Now, I've been experimenting using it on myself for 4 15-minute sessions, and I backed off to working out cardio to 2 hours a day, because I said, man, I don't know how the hell I'm going to freaking spend 3 hours of working out and an hour of this damn thing. That's getting ridiculous, man. So I do 2 hours of working out. I do, you know, an hour of this thing, 4 15-minute sessions. So, you know, I'm just curious of what the hell it's supposed to do, you know. Now, the one thing that really makes me think it works is because of the results on plants and animals. That actually makes me, you know, if you really want an absurdity check on, does this work on something or does that work on something? If it works on plants and animals, like, in other words, if the veterinary world is allowed to say that this cures something in an animal, and people aren't allowed to say that because on a human, you know, because it's not approved by the medical community, you might figure that that alternative thing might actually be legit, you know? It might actually be legit in that case. Because animals don't faith heal themselves, and plants don't faith heal themselves, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, they don't know what, it's just like the device is used and that's it. But way I've been using this device, I'm going to show at the end of this video again what the device looks like. It's a single coil. I've actually arranged a couple of the coils. Actually, there's like a gap on the top and the bottom, so every other coil, like the gap, is either at 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And I arranged a couple of the coils one at like 10 o'clock and one at 7 o'clock. I think there was a reference in one of the things I read where Lakhovsky actually figured that he changed the you didn't have them all at 6 and 12 o'clock, the openings on the coils. So I changed a couple of them. And I was just kind of messing around with that thing till I saw, what I did was I actually just changed them around till I saw more sparks in more different areas on the coil. I've actually moved the coil away from the supports where it's attached to the plastic, like there's only held on, instead of being held on at 4 points on each coil, someplace a lot of times they're just held on by 3 or 2 points. So, like, in other words, the coil could reverberate. And you know, I've seen these other ones, these aftermarket products that they come out and they're like, it's on a printed circuit board. I personally, you know, I'm not a scientist, but I think they probably work. But I think the original design where the coils were suspended on like silken string was the best design. Even though that's a little more fragile to carry around or something like that, I think that was the very best design because it allows the each one of the coils, the loops, whatever the hell you want to call it, to find their own. They can vibrate on their own. You know what I mean? Because they're suspended, almost like they're suspended in air. So I think that's an important consideration. But I've never seen any device out there that really was like the original one. So I didn't want to blow the money on something that I don't know what the hell I'm getting anyway, and if it breaks, what do you do, right? So I got a cheap one, and I think the cheap one is probably pretty close to like any of the ones sold out there that are a lot more money. And the one I got was from AmazingOne.com. Now, I get pretty close to this thing, and I got zapped by it a couple times, but I get close enough to it where I can tell exactly how close to get it. It's a little under 6 inches away from the device, and you can feel like a breeze. I don't know how to describe it. You know, I'm not into all this hocus pocus, you know, raw energy from this cosmos crap, and you know, I don't even believe in a lot of stuff like this, but I think there's something to this damn thing. And you know, so I'm kind of like I'm a very skeptical person when it's coming to this thing, but I have to look at it like, you know, this was evaluated by real medical professionals, even though it was a long time ago, and they said it worked, you know. And then I was interested in the anti-aging, healing thing, strengthening the body, good for health. I don't know, just messing around with it. So I get about just a little under 6 inches away from it, and I could feel like tiny, tiny bits of sparks. Once I get that close, I don't get any closer, man. And you could feel like a breeze coming off it. That's what it feels like. I don't know if it's just the electricity, but it feels like a breeze coming off of it. And they say that's the negative ions coming off the damn thing or whatever the hell it is. So, you know, I just want to kind of just update people on, you know, what the hell this damn thing is, because I don't even know. But, you know, this is coming from a person that is, I'm pretty damn scientific and objective, and, you know, I got an open mind about some of this kind of shit, but it's like I don't really believe in it that much. Like, I bought like 4 of these ionic pyramids or some crap like that, and they're supposed to give off negative ions. I can't tell what the hell they do. They look cool though, you know, they look neat, but I don't know what the hell they do. This thing, if I just think real objectively about it, it feels like it's putting some kind of energy in you. It almost feels like it's relaxing you or some crap. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. You know, I'd be really surprised if it freaking does some wild shit where, you know, I could see a visible difference or something like that. You know, I look like I'm way younger or something, you know. I'll be like, wow, that's cool. If that happens, the place that I bought this from is probably going to have so many freaking orders, they never know. They're never going to freaking end, you know. But I don't know if that's going to happen. So, but I figured I have to use it a lot more than 15 minutes a day. So I upped it to an hour a day, and I says, man, I am not going to be able to work out 3 hours a day and do this thing for an hour a day. It's killing too much time. So I backed off on working out to 2 hours a day. I said, that's enough anyway, you know. I don't always do 3 hours. I used to do it for like, I think from 2007 to 2011, I did 3 hours a day, 365 days a week, working out. Sometimes it would even be 6, 7, 8 hours. It was like that much. You know, that was getting like ridiculous, you know. But I still do this stuff a lot, you know. But I figured I'd backed it off to about 2 hours a day and do this for 4 15-minute sessions. So I'm kind of running an experiment. I don't know what the hell it's going to do. But, you know, you don't know until you freaking mess around with it. But if it freaking does something really... Now, like I said, if it does something stellar, knowing how people are, you know, people are like... You know, if you could... First off, you know, how many billions of dollars is in the cosmetic industry, right? With women, you know, they're doing their hair, they're doing their makeup, they're doing all kinds of stuff. If this thing actually worked that damn good, every woman in the world would have one. And then the cat's out of the bag. But I don't know if it's going to do this. I don't know if it's going to work like that. It would have to be something very, very, very obvious to me before I'd believe it. Because I'm like, I don't think it's going to work like that. But I realized that I had to up the time because, like when you're using it on plants, I'm not going to try to use this thing 3 hours a day. That's ridiculous. But when they try to cure some plants of cancer, they used it for 3 hours a day for 11 days straight. And there was no results at all in the beginning, in the very first few days. And then at the 16th day, actually, you know, 5 days after they stopped the treatment, then the plants were starting to, like, knock the tumors down. So, but, you know, I read that the more complex the organism, the more difficult it is for this thing to actually work. So, you know, somebody wants to try to experiment with a Lakhovsky coil for 4 hours a day or something. Maybe it will work. I don't know. But, you know, that's a hell of a lot of time. I don't have time for that kind of crap. No way. No way in hell. But, you know, I started thinking about some of this crap because I says, you know, if this thing is just a Tesla coil and it makes a funny spark and that's the reason, you know, you get the energies from it, well, how come MIG and arc welders don't have, like, longevity, right? Really, think about it, you know? I mean, I don't know. But like I said, the only way to find out if it works is to actually use it that often. And I've been using it an hour a day for the last, I don't know, less than a week now. I guess it was about a week, maybe max. And I could say, though, when you get near that device, there's some kind of energy coming off it besides the electricity. It has like a relaxing energy. I don't know what the hell the deal is. It almost feels like a breeze. But you notice the light, the lamp that was on the same wiring circuit flickering like that. I usually can't get it to do that, but if I'm standing in front of it in a certain way, in a certain distance, I got to be pretty damn close to it. Somehow the electricity goes right through the wire and back feeds into the lamp. So if you got some sensitive electronic components, I got to figure, you know, if you decide to buy one of these things, make sure you don't have either they're unplugged or you don't have this thing, you have it on its own circuit. Because, you know, I could see how this thing can actually screw up some sensitive electronic components. And, you know, in today's day and age, there's a lot of stuff out there that we have plugged into the wall that's a sensitive electronic components. And it I don't know, it might screw it up. So anyway, I've been finding, you know, I've been observing too that it seems that the best secrets are the most hidden secrets going. You know, Hulda Clark is actually got a bigger name out there than pretty much anybody out there. And, you know, I'm not too keen on what a lot of her stuff, to tell you the truth. I think it's kind of useful. Now, Bob Beck is lesser known, and I think his stuff is a lot better. But then if you start getting into like, Robert C. Becker, you don't hear much about him. You don't, and this Lakhovsky coil, I've been reading about alternative health stuff for years, and I never heard of it till recently. And I was like, wow, this thing is pretty much a buried secret. And the most interesting thing about this is, out of all the alternative stuff out there, like, Bob Beck never had his devices evaluated in the hospitals, I mean, all these people never really had their devices evaluated in hospitals by medical professionals. But Lakhovsky's device was. That's the difference. And also, Lakhovsky's device was used on plants and animals a lot, too. That tells me that this thing is probably legit. I like the idea behind it, man. I think it's slick as all hell. So I'm going to continue to use it, and at the end of this video, I'm going to show with the little device I have. Now, this little device I got was only like under $1,000 delivered. So it's not like, this major investment, and I personally think that it's doing probably most of what the original one did, even though it's that cheap, even though it's that cheap. I don't think if you're paying like $5,000 for something, you get something 5 times better. That's my opinion anyway. I think this little one isn't bad. It's made right here in the USA, New Hampshire too. So I've been messing around with it. We'll see what the hell happens, Anyway, over and out.